All right, everybody, again, thanks so much for logging on. We're going to go ahead and get started here. If you haven't already, there is a chat box that you're able to utilize. If you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to use it. You have two options. There is the chat box, which you can use that one, or there's also the question and answer that you can use as well. Either one is fine. We'll be monitoring both. So just make sure you get all your questions out of the way so we can get them answered. My name is Tamika Gibson. I'm going to be your host today. I'm also the International Enrollment Manager with Catalyst Gem. So we're just going to go through all of the information that you will need as an international student. So first off, let's kick off with our slideshow that you see on screen. I'm going to introduce the panelists that we have on the call today. We have John Evans, which is our Chief Executive Officer. We also have Akua, which is our Director of Enrollment Operations, myself, as I just mentioned, and then Tiffany Smith, who is our International Enrollment Specialist. Everyone will be speaking today and answering questions, making sure, like I said, we get everything, all the information that you need to you. So some of the key questions that we want to make sure we go over, obviously we've been doing this for quite some time now, and we know exactly what you want to know. So these are going to be pretty much what we touch on, and then so much more. We know that you want to know why you should choose the US versus any other country, how much it will cost, if there's scholarships, how you're going to pay for it, how you'll get your visa. Everything you'll want to know is going to be answered today. And if it is not, like I said, type it in the chat and we'll get it answered for you. So let's talk about who we are, Catalyst Gem, who is presenting this presentation to you. So the headquarters is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is in the US. That's where John just said he was at, in Florida. And then the company itself was founded by professionals with extensive experience. John, not alone, just others as well. And then the company itself is an online marketplace. So we are strictly for international students. It's for you to search and find the programs that meet your academic interests as well as your career goals, and that's in your budget to study. So we will support you through the whole process from start to finish, when you start your application, deciding your school, getting your visa, and then coming over to the US. And then we've discussed and we've told you about the loan that's available as well. So we're partnered with Empower Financing. This is the company that is going to provide you with the loan to study as an international student. So we're partnered together as two separate companies to bring you to the US and get you studying. So Empower was founded by former international students themselves, and they're based in Washington, D.C., and they also have offices in New York and in India. So their mission is pretty much to reduce the financial burden that you may have as an international student, especially if you're not able to get a sponsor or whatever the case is for you personally. So they will provide you with the loan and then other details as well to get you studying. So we'll go over that more in detail as well, but that's just a brief introduction to Empower Financing. So as an international student, you pretty much go through the same process. It's going to be different for everybody, but the steps will be the same. So first of all, you're going to search and find the right university that offers the program that you're interested in. And our enrollment counselors will help you do that. Once you find the schools that you like, you can complete the application and upload your documents to get the application processed. So once your application is fully complete, that is when you will get your offer letters from the universities. Once you have the offer letter, that is what you need to apply for the loan with Empower. And then when you apply for the loan with Empower, you'll be given the documents you need to obtain your I-20 from the university. The I-20 is the paperwork you need to apply for a visa, which is the next step. And after that, you will then go to your interview, of course, and then become an international student in the US. So we're going to break down each of those steps and make sure you understand how everything works at each of the steps and then what to do once you're in that step. So this is when I'm going to start to bring in the members from our panel to help you get these questions answered. So first, I'm going to bring on John Evans. He's going to talk more about why the US is a good option for international students versus maybe staying in your own country or choosing another country to study at.
Thanks, Tamika. And Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from today. We really appreciate you joining the session and hope that you'll get many of your questions answered. So really, why is the USA a good option for international students? Well, what we appreciate is that, when you're investing in study abroad, it represents probably one of the most important decisions of your lives. Many of you will be making this decision based on not just advancing your education, but really building a foundation for a future career and life. And there's a large amount of money involved. Many of you, may be the first in your family doing this. So it's an important decision. So really, there's a number of reasons why the USA is a good option for international students, and also why it remains the #1 destination for international students. We have over 1 million students on F1 visas in our country. So I think the first pillar really is the quality of education. The US is really respected internationally for the quality of education, and so earning a US degree really is something that will represent real value on your resume. I mean, there's many companies around the world that, of course, respect US education. If you look at the rankings, about half of the top 100 universities in the world are from the US, and of course, you'll have heard of many of the Ivy League schools. But also, I feel where the US is strong is how it prepares students for a career in terms of what you're taught, but also for an international student, the access to the employer's job market as well. So opportunities to build experience both during your studies and upon completion of your studies. And bear in mind, the US is the largest economy in the world. We're expecting to create millions of STEM jobs in the next decade, and many international students will be required to fill those job opportunities. So I think it comes down to really the quality of education, the ability to build a career and really get a return on investment. I mean, because ultimately you're spending a lot of money, so that's got to pay off in the long term as well.
Yes, great, John. Can you tell us, I know a lot of international students, when they come over, they have the hope that they can become a permanent resident. And I know there is a pathway to that. Do you want to speak on that a bit more?
Sure. Well, an F1 visa, a student visa, is not a direct pathway to permanent residence and settlement in the US. The F1 visa, as I mentioned before, does allow you the opportunity of post-study work. So for those students that are pursuing STEM-related careers like technology, engineering, sciences, medicine, then they are given 3 years of post-study work. Non-STEM is only 12 months. And a lot of the students that pursue STEM, they'll have the opportunity to work with employers who are willing to sponsor them because STEM skilled people are in high demand in the US. So a lot of the work visas go to STEM graduates. So ultimately the indirect pathway would be to pursue OPT and get an employer to sponsor you for a work visa, and then a work visa would provide that pathway to permanent residence. But the student visa doesn't directly provide that pathway.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that. And then I know that we're going to speak in a bit about the Empower loans and how they will help students afford the studies, but when they're applying to the universities themselves, they also have the option to apply for scholarships if they're available, right?
Yeah, a lot of universities in the US, use scholarships as a way of attracting talent. So, it could be that you're academically strong, or you have a sporting talent or some kind of artistic talent. So there's a lot of scholarships available, but also, universities are trying to attract more international students as well. So we're seeing an increasing amount of universities now using scholarships as a way of, trying to bring in more students. So, many of the universities that we work with will be offering partial tuition scholarships. So it's not going to cover all of your tuition fees, but it will, help provide some kind of reduction or discount, towards the overall cost. And of course, our team will help work with candidates to identify those opportunities and ensure that students can maximize that.
That's excellent. So students can get admission and get a loan, and then for the remaining costs, they can use the a scholarship. They can get a scholarship from the university and then use the Empower loan for the remaining fees to afford their studies.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, we do have some questions coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and answer those. One of the questions is to know the addresses of the schools that they can apply for, which everyone who is in attendance, we will go ahead and send you. We're going to send you the answers to these questions that we're talking about, and we're also going to send you the list of schools that you can choose to apply to as well. So you will get that after this call. It'll come out in an email to you. And then there's another question here. Just to be clear, the university emails, the list of universities that we email you, those are the universities that you can choose to go to with the loan itself. So it has to be one of the universities on that list. Okay, I think that may be it for now, but if you have any questions about this topic, please feel free to go ahead and write them in. And John, I'll shoot them back to you once I see them, okay?
Sure.
Okay, great. So let's move on. Our next topic we're going to talk about is how do you find the right university and the program? I briefly just mentioned that we're going to send you a list, which is definitely what we're going to do, but let's figure out how do you choose from that list which schools you can apply to. And I'm going to bring in Akua from the panel to help us do that. Akua?
Hi, Tamika. Thank you for introducing me. I do know that this question will raise a lot of things for most of the attendees that we have. As an international student, I do know that finding the right school can be daunting. We at Catalyst Gym have the right counselors to assist you and steer you towards the right path. As Tamika said previously, our platform has been built in such a way to help you filter out what exactly you need to match with the right program and university to be able to go to when you want to.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Akua. So let's dive into that a bit more. So when students are applying to a university, what are the academic requirements a student should have in order to apply?
Okay, so with that, universities typically require the equivalent of a 4-year bachelor's degree from the USA. The minimum GPA requirements will vary by institution and program, but many seek a 3.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale. Additionally, we do get a lot of questions about people trying to study maybe English test or any other languages as well. So I just wanted to put it out there that students from non-English speaking countries will be required to take an English language test. Most common are IELTS and TOEFL. Certain graduate degrees will also require like a GMAT or a GRE as well.
Okay, and that's going to be based on the school, of course, right?
Definitely.
Okay, I know that is one of the questions that came through. Was GRE going to be required? So again, that's going to be based on the school itself. And not every school is going to require it, so just some of them. Another question coming through is, if a student has academics in arts and science, are they able to switch to science? And I think I may ask for clarity on that question, Akua, before I have you answer it. If you could just specify what your degree is and what degree you're trying to go to, I think we can better answer that question. So Akua, let's talk more about the right university and how a student finds it. Once they do find the university or universities that they wish to apply to, is there going to be an application fee for these students, or how many can they choose from?
Okay, so when it comes to the application fee, it depends on the university that you choose. Many do not have application fee, but most as well do. Once you contact us and let us know the schools that you want to go to, we'll definitely let you know the information regarding that particular university and if there's any cost attached to it as well. You don't have a maximum or you don't have a limit on how many universities you can apply to, but our policy is set to be a maximum of 3 universities because we feel that will be sufficient for you and help us minimize our time as well as our cost.
Yes, that's true, because students really only need one I-20 to apply for a visa. So they definitely don't want to get a bunch of I-20. So I think 3 schools is a great number for you guys to apply to. So one of the questions coming through is, does Catalyst Gem charge a fee, which we do not, but as Akua just mentioned, some universities do charge an application fee. At that point, that would be the fee that you paid, but you would not pay Catalyst Gem anything at any point over your span of becoming an international student.
Definitely.
So just viewing some more questions that might be in for you, Akua. 1 second.
Okay.
A student is asking what would be the best engineering school option. I think this is something that we're going to ask the student to contact him to give him the best options based on his academics. So that's what we'll do for that one.
But I also wanted to add that with engineering courses as well, we have a bunch of schools that have that. So when they send us the particular inquiry, we'll definitely let them know which schools might have that as well. And like I said before, our platform is amazing. It's been built in such a way to filter out which universities will have engineering courses for master's program.
And I think I'd just like to add something as well to that question. So, I mean, we are not here to tell you what university to apply to. Our goal is really to help you be equipped to make the right decisions. So, you know, we've got a broad selection of institutions, and we will work with you individually to figure out what are the best options, because, you know, ultimately your decision is not just going to be driven by, I want to do engineering, what engineering school can I go to? But it's going to be based upon your budget, your academic scores, maybe the location of the university, and also what are their connections with employers, because you've got to look beyond the study process in terms of building a career. So really, that's our approach to this business, is really just helping you make the right decisions.
Definitely.
Yes, thank you for that, John. I do have a lot of questions coming in about clarity on the scholarship and the loan itself. So just to go over that one more time. So your total tuition for a university is where you start. If you qualify for a scholarship, the scholarship would come off of that total tuition and bring it down. And then the remaining tuition, you can use the loan to cover those fees. So that's how it works. The scholarships are not fully funded. It's a portion of the total tuition. And then you would qualify for those scholarships based on academics as well. Let's see, there are a couple of questions, so I'm just going to scan through them real quick and make sure I got them. Akua, can you touch base on what you said about the English language proficiency and what to do if they don't have a English test?
So some of the universities that we have offer in-house Duolingo tests as well. So we just have to know which university that you want to go to. So we have a few universities that offer in-house tests that you can do online, but we cannot waive the English test that comes with the requirement of the university as well. But we can offer you a more subtle one that you can do, but most of the time they offer the in-language test called the Duolingo test, which can qualify you to be part of the university as well and get admission.
Excellent, Akua. Thank you so much. So one more thing that I want to touch base on before we move on from this topic. I have a lot of questions coming in on if I have a certain degree, a certain bachelor's degree, can I go into this master's degree? So the question is going to vary by program, of course, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I do want to just add in here that if for some reason you don't meet the qualifications for the master's, there are certain instances where a university will give you a bridge program that will be just like a little semester or two to help you get to that master's degree. So even if you feel shaky about switching, if you feel like you're switching fields too much, there may be an option to help you get into that master's degree. So definitely speak to an enrollment counselor about your specific situation and if you can bring your bachelor's to the master's degree that you want to. All right. So keep coming in with the questions and we'll keep answering them throughout the next session, but we're going to move on to budgeting and what budget you will need as an international student. For this topic, I'm going to bring in Tiffany. She's going to speak a little bit about it. Tiffany, if you want to come on and just introduce yourself and the budget that students would need for an international student.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Tamika. So as far as the budget, tuition costs vary, by university and program. You would actually have to check on the individual university and the program. And as far as other costs to cover, will be the accommodation, travel, books, insurance, meals, and other expenses.
Excellent. Thanks, Tiffany. So what type of other expenses might a student incur as an international student? I know you said tuition was one.
Yes. As said before, the accommodation, you would also have to do the DS 160 fee, $160, CVIS fee of $350, plus you would also have to pay for your flight to come to the US.
Okay, so I think this is a great time to clarify when you apply for the loan and when you're approved for the loan is not sent to you as a student, it's sent directly to your school when you start studying, or sorry, it'll be a few weeks before you start studying, but when you start studying, it will be applied to your school itself, it won't come to you. So some of the finances that you'll pay up front would be those application fees that we talked about if the university you're applying to has them. And then as Tiffany just mentioned, you'll also pay the DS 160 fee and the CVIS fee, that's roughly about $500, and then also your flight fee to come to the US. So be prepared to pay for those expenses up front before the loan is applied to your university for your tuition and accommodation. So Tiffany, when the students come over and they've already paid what we talked about, and now it's time for them to pay for their loan, is this something that they can start working to pay for?
So yes, international students can apply for jobs on campus and graduate assistantships. In addition, it's called CPT and OPT work programs provide, the opportunities for international students to work during and upon completion of their studies.
Great, thanks so much, Tiffany.
And Tamika, I think it's a good kind of time to kind of set expectation as well. So I think what I know, I don't want to preempt the discussion we're going to have specifically around the loan later in the session, but really, the loan itself, will help supplement a lot of cost in the overall budget required, and but ultimately students will need to have funds as well. I think anybody just expecting that they can come to the US and find a job in the first month, it's not realistic. There will be jobs available on campus, but there'll also be other people applying for those jobs, other international students, other domestic students. So really, the students need to make sure that they're coming to the US with the expectation that they have financial resources to at least support themselves through the first year. And then beyond that, I mean, particularly at graduate level, they'll have opportunities to potentially supplement the income through CPT. And then once they graduate, of course, that's when they can really join the employment market. And, when you look at, graduate salaries in areas like STEM, I mean, people are earning like $70,000 a year starting salary. So that's really when you'll see that return on investment. But it's important that students understand that, the loan process isn't going to cover 100% of everything, and it's not a free process either. I mean, it's something that they will pay back, over their career.
Excellent, John. Thanks for adding that in there. There are a couple of questions that have come through in the meantime. A lot of these questions are pretty personal. I'm not going to answer them on the call, but we would love to answer them for you. If you'd like to speak to an enrollment counselor, we will definitely get those answered. For the ones that are not personal, some of the questions are coming in as if they miss part of the session, how can you see it again, which we are recording the session and we can send out the recording as well, and we're also going to send out a questions and answer sheet that will give you the answer to all these questions that we're going over on the call as well. And then also, one of the questions is, can a student transfer in, which is completely acceptable. You can transfer in from a U.S. school or from a school, an international school as well. You can bring credits over to the school that you would like to apply to in the U.S. too. There are a couple of questions about the loan process, which we are going to go over the loan in detail in just a bit. So I'm going to save those. A lot of them that you guys have asked will be answered. So just keep that in mind. I do see them and we are going to answer them. But first, let's talk a bit about the requirements to qualify you for a student visa, because this is super important and we definitely want to go over this. I'm going to bring John back on. He's going to go over it just a bit, and then we're going to get all your questions answered. John?
Okay, thanks. So this is the exciting part. So you've got your offer from your school, but you still need to get that student visa to complete the process. So really, as I mentioned, an F1 student visa is a non-immigrant visa. It's really designed to provide international students with access to our education system and the opportunity to work for a period of time following that. But there are some requirements. First of all, the US government requires that, of course, you've got an offer letter in hand. You can show that you have the necessary financial means. So that might mean either you've got funds in your personal account, or you've got a sponsor, maybe a parent or a relative that's willing to support the cost of your studies, or you've been approved for a student loan. So if you apply for the Empower program, they will provide you with an official letter confirming that your loan has been approved. The funds won't be dispersed until you've been approved for the visa, but it will demonstrate to the US consulate that that you do have the necessary financial means to support yourself during the first year. So the school will issue you an I-20 once you've demonstrated that proof to them, and that document allows you then to start the application process with the US government to apply for the visa. And there's a couple of steps. One is to complete a DS-160 form online. You've also got to pay some visa fees, and then you'll be required to schedule an in-person interview at the nearest consulate. So typically the interview itself, it lasts no more than 1 to 2 minutes. It's really a consular officer asking you a couple of pointed questions and really determining, if they consider you are, going to be eligible. And of course, we will help you kind of navigate that process. Of course, we've helped many students through this process, and we will also ensure that you're prepared for that visa interview as well. So as long as you meet the requirements, it's a fairly straightforward process. But those students that really don't have the financial means, or have weak academic profile, or give the consular officer an indication that they're just looking to come to the US to live happily ever after, that's where they'll have challenges. But even from a government standpoint, the US government came out earlier this week and really reinforced that international education is a key foreign policy. So at the very top, we're looking to encourage international students to come and study in our country. It hasn't always been the case, but right now, we're seeing a very favorable environment for international students to come and study here.
Yeah, that's excellent, John. And you mentioned that we will prepare students for the visa interview, and I just want to give some more details about that. What John was referring to is we will do visa training with you. We will do it as a group. We will do it one-on-one. We'll also do mock interviews to get you prepared for the actual interview. So we'll have you covered in that process and get you to a point to where you're not going to be nervous when you go to the real interview. So I just wanted to highlight that a bit more too. So John, is there anything that you would like to touch on as far as in students who need a sponsor, or I know you mentioned earlier that students should be prepared for probably the first year coming from a sponsor or maybe savings.
Yeah, so the the school that they apply to, they will require the student to demonstrate proof of funds. So depending on the school, and the cost will depend on the amount that they have to show. So, if a student's being offered a partial scholarship, then that will be reflected in the amount required. But essentially, a student's got to show that you can cover the tuition costs and all the associated living expenses, whether it's accommodation, meals, insurances, books, everything related. And of course, if a student's has been approved for a loan, the loan is going to help cover a significant portion of those fees, not necessarily 100%, but it will certainly cover a high amount. But again, we can work with students individually so they understand what options meet their budget.
Excellent, John. Thanks so much for that. So I'm just going to view the questions for a sec. Let's just see what I know. There's a lot coming through. Some more questions about getting a copy of this recording, which you do not have to worry. If you're on the call, you will get an email once the call is finished with a recording. And then also, like I said, a Q&A sheet that has the answers to the questions that we're going over now. One of the questions coming through is, can I study online? Which online is an option. You can speak to an enrollment counselor about that as well. One of the questions is Catalyst Gem the one that is supplying the loan, which the answer to that is no. Catalyst Gem is helping you decide which school you will apply to for the loan and then walking you through the whole process to becoming an international student. The loan is provided by Empower Financing, which your enrollment counselor will get you through that step as well as far as in applying for the loan. And then another question here. Some more questions about the loan, which we're actually going to get into now. So again, not ignoring the questions, but I'm going to bring on Akua. We're going to talk more about how you can qualify for the loan as an international student and then the details around the loan. So Akua, do you want to touch base on that?
Definitely. So I do know majority of our attendees are here for the subject, and I'll do my best to be as expressive as I can and throw more insight on this question as well. First, I do know that most students fret over the term loan and the documents needed to get approved. But the good news with Empower Financing is that to qualify, you need to be approved with Empower institutions we partner with. So definitely, if you let us in on your inquiry and your situation, we definitely send you a list of schools. Like Tamika said, we are also going to send you the list of schools that we work with or partner with Empower Financing as well. I do know that additionally, there are always questions about cost, about if you need additional co-signer, if you need other things. But I'm here to surprisingly tell you that there is no cost involved in applying for the loan. You don't need a co-signer. And surprisingly, for people in Africa or people in other countries as well, you always need the collateral when you're applying for a loan. But the good thing about this is you don't need any collateral at all.
So how are students getting the loan if they're not using collateral?
First of all, the first major thing for you to qualify is you need to have been approved for one of the institutions that we partner with, Empower. That is the first step. And then we help you through the process of applying through Empower Financing. You don't need to have all that to be able to qualify for that.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Akua. So there are some questions coming in. One thing I want to clarify again is a scholarship versus the loan. So again, when you apply to a university, you get a total tuition, which is what you're responsible for paying as an international student. If you qualify for a scholarship through academics or whatever other means, the scholarship is a portion of the total tuition. So the scholarship reduces that down a bit. And then the remaining fees you are still responsible for. So to pay those remaining fees, you can then apply for a loan through Empower Financing, and then you can use that loan to cover the remaining fees. So that's how that would work. You do have to repay the loan, but you do not have to repay the scholarship that the university gave you. Only the loan needs to be repaid. And I hope that's clear now, but if it's not, please ask the question that would help clarify that for you. And then Akua. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'd just like to clarify one point as well, which I think will help the audience.
Okay.
So this is a fairly unique student loan program. Most loan programs, I mean, I'm sure if they exist in your local country, you're paying a high interest rate. You're required to demonstrate that you have collateral, whether it be land or property. You might be required to, have a co-signer. So if you're unable to pay the loan, somebody else is also responsible for that loan. This is a different type of loan program. This particular loan program is really framed around future potential. And that's why they're not asking you for a co-signer or collateral, because you're being approved for that loan based on the belief that once you graduate, you will have the earnings potential to be able to pay back that loan. So not every university is approved for this loan with Empower. They have a select number of universities that they have approved based upon different data and different criteria. And of course, a number of those universities, Catalyst GEM support as well. So really, the loan itself is kind of free of commitment, as long as you have the ability to get approved for a school that's on that list.
Yes, thanks, John, for clarifying that. So just to recap, you will apply to your university, you will get your offer letter, you will then apply for the loan once the loan is approved, and then you come over to study. Akua, can you tell us a bit more about when the student starts repaying the loan and how they'll do that?
Okay, so first of all, I want to also touch on one major thing, and that is the interest rate that I do know that we get answers or questions all the time about that. So there is a fixed interest rate of 6.49% to 13.99%. Definitely when you apply to the universities on your, and then you apply to Empower Loan will issue you a letter that would definitely indicate the interest rate that you would have to pay. So you definitely not be caught off guard. Your rate will be determined once the loan application is processed. So discounts are available for auto payments, consecutive payment, and graduation as well. You start to pay off the loan 45 days after the start of your studies. So obviously you have to get your visa, come here, start your school, and then you start paying off the loan. I do know there are always questions, how do I start paying off the loan? First of all, as an international student, you have the ability to work. You're allowed to work maybe 20 hours a week and maybe full-time on vacation. But with that, we always tell the students to be realistic as well and have a plan B option as well. Prepare to have a budget with you in case you don't get a job or are not able to work. You can start paying off your loan as well, so that you don't go against paying off the loan.
And
Yes.
as well, just to clarify, students that are looking to work, there are restrictions around work. So for example, as a graduate student during the first year, you could apply for on-campus employment, but curricular practical training, would typically only be authorized after the first year. But graduate programs are typically designed that students are studying evenings and weekends. So at least it provides you with the ability and the timetable to do that.
Yes, thanks, John, so much. Akua, so basically what John mentioned earlier as well too is students should be prepared to fund their payments. They should be able to make their monthly payments without a job in the US, because there are factors that can stop them from becoming employed once they get here. I know one of those things is students do have to apply for a social security card, which does take some time to process. So as John said, there's a lot of different factors that go into whether you will find a job as soon as you get here or not. So Akua, if a student can't find a job, are there other options to repay the loan? I know John just mentioned a sponsor. What else can students do?
To be honest, I always say that the student also has to plan on bringing some funds with them when they're coming in, just to be prepared. There's always a plan A option. That is the plan A of getting the Empower loan and getting it sorted out. But the plan B version that we always tell students, get some funds with you and come with it. So just in case that it will free you from all the tension and be able to focus on your studies as well. So you have time to pay off and still be looking for a job and still not be fretting over the fact that I've not paid my loan in this specific period as well. So always get prepared as well when you're coming in. So the plan A option, getting approved, getting the loan all right, and getting a job. But plan B, always prepare for that. Bring along a budget as well. You never know.
Excellent, Akua. Thanks for clarifying that. So there are some questions coming in. One of the questions is the loan tuition fee only, or can it also cover living costs as well? Just to clarify, the loan covers tuition fees, living costs, and any other additional fees that the university may charge you. So that may include books as well. So your loan will cover everything that you would need as an international student. So if you choose to get a meal plan from the university as well, remember the fees are sent to your university, and then your university disperses them based on what you choose to apply them to. So yes, it does cover additional things aside from tuition.
And Tamika, as well, just to clarify an earlier point, the students, they're required to start paying 45 days once the loan is being processed, but they'll be paying interest only throughout their studies and until 6 months after graduation. So that, you know, the payment is going to be minimal, you know, until they actually, you know, join the workforce and start work, you know, and start earning an income.
Yes, excellent point, John. Thanks so much. Another question coming in is the loan restricted to certain students from specific countries, which the answer is no. As long as you qualify for one of the universities on the list that we're going to send you, then you will qualify. You will meet the requirements for the loan. So it doesn't matter which country you're in. Going through some more.
And while you go through the questions, Tamika, we're also just going to launch a quick poll with 3 questions. So you'll see the pop-up window on your screen. So if you could just answer those questions, it will, and we'll publish the results at the end. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, John. So next question coming up is, will we provide you with a list of universities and are they accredited? So yes, we will provide you with a list at the end of this session. It will come to you in email. And then all of the universities that you will see on that list are accredited. There are 2 forms of accreditation in the US, which is national and regional, which is a higher accreditation than national. So our universities are regionally accredited, which is that higher accreditation. So yes. Another question coming in. Sorry, this is a long one. Can a student apply for both a loan and a scholarship? The answer is yes. You will apply for the scholarship once you submit your application. It's automatic, it goes hand in hand, and you will get your decision on the scholarship once you get your offer letter. So that's the first session, and that's together. And then after you get that scholarship approval or not, depending on your academics, you will then apply for the loan. Next question. Sorry, another question is, what exactly does the loan cover from A to Z? Does it cover living and accommodations, which, as I just mentioned, it does. It covers everything that the university would charge you. It's applied to the university fees. Another question. Sorry, just checking through these. I don't want to answer too personal questions.
And Tamika, let me just deal with the kind of issue of, you know, what it covers. So you've explained that it covers, you know, other related expenses. How it works is that Empower would distribute the funds to the school once your loan has been approved. The school would take the tuition piece out of those fees and then, you know, provide you with reimbursement on the remainder of the loan so you can support the other costs.
Yes, thanks, John. One of the questions is to know the requirements for the university. So that will be included in the list that we send you afterwards as well. When we send you the list after this call, the best thing that you should do then is to go through the universities to see which one has the program that you're looking for, and then narrow that list down to 1, 2, or 3 schools. You can apply to up to 3 that you would like to apply for, and then we will start your application for those. If you're having trouble narrowing down that list, you can speak to an enrollment counselor who will help you through that process as well. But that's where you should start once we wrap up this session, would just be to go through the universities and figure out which one is best for you based on location, program, your budget as well, different things like that. And then one of the questions is, what support do we give? So we pretty much support you through the whole process. So from this webinar, all the way until you become an international student and you start your first day of class, we will be there with you. And even after you start your class, we will be here as well. One of the questions is, does the scholarship cover travel? Which the answer is no. You will pay for your travel up front. So the loan doesn't apply until you start studying. So anything before you start your studies, you will pay for out of pocket. All right, I think that wraps up the questions, but if you have more for that topic, please send them. We'll definitely come back to them. And then we're just gonna move on, but again, I know you guys probably are gonna have some more questions, so we'll come back to them, don't worry. So that pretty much wraps up the loan information. We're gonna move on to kind of what I just touched base on, what we'll do as Catalyst GEM to help you through the process. And I'm gonna bring Tiffany back on. Tiffany, can you just briefly go over what we will do as Catalyst GEM to help every student on the call?
So first off, we did say this earlier, we do not charge a fee here at Catalyst GEM. We also can help you. We have a couple of our staff members are locally where you may be located. We have local staff in West Africa, Francophone region, Pakistan, and myself in the US. I would touch base with any other students that are not listed under the West Africa Francophone region or Pakistan. Tamika, we can't hear you, sorry.
Yep, sorry about that. So one of the questions coming in, which is a pretty good question, is when can a student apply and what intake are they applying for? So the next intake we are taking is spring 2022, which is January of next year. And you should start applying now because the process does take some time. Of course, you'll get your offer letter within about 10 to 15 business days, but then you also have to apply for a visa, you have to schedule an interview, and all of this can take time. So go ahead and get your application started and completed as soon as possible. Tiffany, just to jump back over to you. So when students are ready and they've chosen their 1, 2, or 3 schools, what is the next step that they would take?
So what we would do was they let us know what course and universities that they're interested in. And as you said, up to 3 they can choose from. We will then send them an email. And once they receive the email, they would create an account and we would just help them through the process. They would update their required documents. And yes, English is a requirement. I know a lot of the students are asking about that. English is a requirement per university. And this would be how you would access our platform. Our platform would be by qualified applicants and assigned an admission representative. As I said before, we have a few in West Africa, Francophone, and US and Pakistan, and they will provide access to register to use our platform.
Excellent. So you went out for a bit there in your sentence, so I'm just going to clarify. So once you have decided which schools you are ready to apply for, or if you need help deciding, you're going to have to speak to an enrollment counselor at some point. You will then tell the enrollment counselor which schools you chose, and then the enrollment counselor will start your application and they will send you an email. You'll then use that email to complete your application. It'll have a link in there. You'll complete your application and then your process will go from there.
And I think one thing that we haven't really touched on very much, Tamika, is kind of our technology. So we have actually built a technology platform that really kind of simplifies this process for international students. So you'll be working with a counselor. They'll provide you with access to the platform. That will give you the opportunity to search for schools based on program, location, price. I mean, some of those schools, of course, qualify for Empower loans, some do not. But you'll have the ability to use that platform to securely upload your admission documents and track and manage those applications as well. So you have complete visibility on the process, and of course you'll also have the support of our team to get you through that process.
Yes, excellent, John. So John, can you, I think you have controls. Can you move over to that next slide? While we answer the remaining questions that are coming in, if you view the slideshow here, you will see the contact that you should reach out to based on your area. So just an example there, you see Charity Olisa. She is located in West Africa. So if that is where you are, you will reach out to Charity and so on. So I just want to leave this up here to give you time to copy this down. And as you're doing that, I'm going to go through the remaining questions. If you do have any other questions, please send them now. So let's get into this. One of the questions.
Can we quickly introduce maybe the individual team members as well, just so people know who to connect with since they're on this session? That would be nice.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, Charity Olisa is in West Africa. Charity, do you want to get on and say hello?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm having a bit of internet problem. Nice to have you guys here. You can also try other countries. We're not just doing US alone. If you want to go to the UK, but not on Empire alone, we're always here at your service. US, Canada, and the rest of them. We're always here to guide you through the process. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charity. So I just want to clarify that point. The Empower loan, the schools, the list that we're going to send you, they are all located in the US. If you do not desire to go to the US and you want to go to Canada or the UK, as she mentioned, you can, but the Empower loan will not apply to those schools. Next, we just want to introduce Al Hassan from Francophone Africa. Al Hassan, do you want to jump on?
Hello, my name is Al Hassan and I'm from Francophone Africa. I'm here to help you and you can reach me on WhatsApp. Thank you.
Thank you, Al Hassan. And then last, you've already been speaking with Tiffany, so I wasn't going to introduce her. So last is Yaruk from Pakistan. Yaruk.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're benefiting from this webinar. And if you have any questions regarding admissions or if you require any help, I'm always available on WhatsApp and we can get it on from there.
Yes, thanks so much, Yaruk. All right, so thank you guys for coming on and introducing yourselves. I'm sure you will be getting some messages and calls after this. So again, feel free to reach out to the representative in your area so we can get you started on your application. And now let's go through these questions that have been coming in. One of the questions is, how long will it take an international STEM student to get a job after they graduate? So this is really going to depend on the student. Sometimes you will already have a job after you graduate just because of CPT. So again, CPT is the work that you're doing before you graduate. And sometimes it's likely that employer will offer you a position. And then after you graduate, you would just continue to work where you were working for your CPT. So
can I just kind of add because I think this is an important discussion as well. So I'd just like to add a couple of points on that. So you know, the US visa, as we explained, it does provide international students with the opportunity to build experience in their field during and upon completion of their studies. I mean, we mentioned about the on-campus jobs that could be working in the, you know, as a tour guide, it could be working in the restaurant, but the CPT and OPT, this is specifically where you're going to build experience in your field. So for example, if you're pursuing computer science, then your curricular practical training would be related to that field. And of course, that's how you're going to maximize the earnings potential as well, by working in a field where you have the specialist skills. So typically, you know, universities will have career services on campus. They'll have job fairs. They'll help you prepare for interviews. They'll help you identify internship opportunities. And then once you graduate, you have the authorization to work anywhere in the United States in your field. It still have to relate it to your field, but again, you know, if you're pursuing a STEM degree, for example, you want to work in that field because that's where the maximum earnings potential are. I mean, the average starting salary for a STEM job, whether it's computer science or engineering, for somebody with a graduate degree would be about $70,000. But for those with experience, you can earn potentially over $100,000 a year. So you truly have the opportunity to get a return on investment in the US. And of course, you know, We're coming strongly out of the pandemic. We just released the latest quarterly figures. Our economy grew by 6.5% in the last quarter. And now we're projecting that millions of new STEM jobs are going to be created. So we have a welcoming environment, we have a strong economy, and the opportunities exist. And you only have to look at even some of the top companies in the US, that now have international leadership. I mean, if you look at Google, at Microsoft, Pepsi, all of these companies have foreign leaders. Many of them have come to the US as international students. So that really is the American dream right there.
Yes, thanks, John, for adding that on there. All right, so next question coming in is about the payments for the loan. So you will begin paying the loan 45 days after it's processed. So you will make monthly payments, and you will not wait until you graduate to start your payments. You start them when you start your studies. So, 45 days after you start your studies. And again, it's monthly payment. One question
only.
Yeah. One question is, what is the deadline to apply for the loan? So once you're accepted to the university, and if you're shooting for spring, you'll go ahead and apply for the loan. The loan is actually pretty quick turnaround time, so it's not something that's going to take weeks to do. So I wouldn't too much worry about the deadline for the loan. It's more so if you meet the deadline for the university. So you want to get to campus before school starts, so that way you don't have to defer your studies. One student is expressing that they would not have the upfront fees to pay for the visa process and the flight. So that is something that as a student you are fully responsible for. So again, the loan does not come into effect until you start studying. So any expenses before the loan, you are required to pay those expenses, whether it's through yourself, savings, maybe a parent, sponsor of some kind, but you will be required to pay those. Another question. How can a student pay for a loan before he starts working? So let's just go over that one more time so that way it's super clear. So as I just mentioned, the loan, you are required to start paying 45 days after you start your studies. So the 45 days is not enough time for you to find a job. So you are going to need either savings or a sponsor. You're going to need a plan B until you can find a job, which is usually in the second year, if we're being honest. So during that first year, you're going to need help paying for your monthly payments. So your monthly payments will be determined when you apply for the loan. So let's say they're $400. You will need help with that $400 each month until you can find a job and start paying on your own.
Yeah, I think, and that $400 is an arbitrary sum. So again, the amount you'll be paying on the loan is minimal based on the fact that it's interest only. And of course, you'll be dispersed funds, from the loan, once you've been approved and the school has taken the tuition fees as well. But to Tamika's point, I mean, I think if you're just 100% relying on the proceeds of the loan to support you, then it's going to be difficult because you're going to have other costs. You're going to have to pay to get to the US. You're going to have to pay for your flight, for your visa fees. So there are other costs involved. So students who do not have any kind of financial means, this loan program will not provide that solution. It's really to help supplement those students that have some money, but need additional assistance to be able to complete this process.
A follow-up question to that is, how can we expect a student to repay the loan before he graduates or start working? Again, if the loan terms are not something that you can handle as far as in paying in the monthly payments before you feel like you've secured a job, then this is not the loan process for you. This loan is to help you offset the cost, and then once you get a job, whether you were using family fees or maybe savings, you can then take over paying the loan. But we are giving you the information up front to make sure that you're aware that you will be responsible for paying those monthly payments before you get a job, because it takes time to get a job and start working in the US. So hopefully that clears up that little bit of confusion that there was around that. Another question is, can the loan be provided to universities in Canada? Which I mentioned earlier, it cannot. All of the universities on the list that we are going to send you are in the US. We can help you apply for a school in Canada, but you cannot use the loan for a school in Canada. The list is only US schools. Another question surrounding scholarships. The scholarships are through the school that you will be applying to. So when you complete your application and you submit all of your documents, the university will automatically review you for a scholarship. And if you are approved, you will see it either on your offer letter or attached to your offer letter. And there's no deadline to apply for the scholarship because it's simultaneously. You don't have to do anything separate for that. One question is, can we use a scholarship and the loan at the same time? The answer is yes. Again, you'll have a total tuition. The scholarship from the university will reduce that tuition. And then the remaining fees, you can use the loan to pay those off. Question is, can I make it for spring 2022? The answer is yes. You can start your application today if you wanted to, and we could get it completed for you and get your offer letters out as soon as possible to start that process. So yes, you can apply for spring today if you have all of your documents together. One of the questions is about the schools that are available. Again, once this webinar is ended, you will get a recording of the webinar, you will get a Q&A fact sheet, and you will get the list of universities that you can choose from. Okay, I see the questions are slowing down. So if you do have any, please make sure you send them now so we can get them answered for you. Otherwise, please make sure you take down the details of the representative you should be contacting after this call. Just to reach out to the panel that's on the call, does anybody have anything else they would like to add to the end of this, or anything that maybe we didn't discuss that you would like to bring up?
Would any of the local team like to address any points before we close the session?
Yep.
Okay, thank you guys. I just wanted to make sure, since the questions are slowing down, I don't see any new ones coming in. I do see a lot of thank yous, and thank you guys so much for getting on with us. We hope that we can work with you through this process and get you studying in the US as an international student. Again, you will get a copy of this recording, you will get a Q&A fact sheet, and you will get a list of the universities to review that you can apply for that also go with the loan. So the next steps, once we are done here, I would suggest once you get that email, go through the universities, determine which one is right for you based on location, your budget, the program of your choice. Obviously, if you have trouble doing that part, feel free to reach out to an enrollment representative. They can also help you through that. If not, please determine which schools you would like to apply for, and then let us help you through that process so we can get you started. Okay, I don't see anything else. You guys, thank you so much for attending. If anybody on the panel would like to say anything, please do so now.
No, just thank you again, everybody. We hope that you found the information helpful today. You know, this is just the start of the process, though, so we're fully committed to helping you navigate this journey, find your dream school that will allow you to build a successful career and future. So we look forward to helping you through that process. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, John. Thanks to the panel and everyone for speaking with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Right.